Ah, thanks. Could it be that my husband collapsed while at work?
No, I received a call from the police saying that my wife was taken to the hospital. I just arrived. Did Jason collapse too?
Oh wait, yeah. I thought he had a business meeting today with you.
No, Jason had the day off today. Besides, wasn't Daisy camping with you? Heidi, what happened during the camping trip?
Ah,
My name is Katie. This spring, I moved to a different region, living with my husband, Jason, and our son, Eggy. The reason for the move was because my husband was transferred for work. Initially, it seemed like my husband planned to go alone. However, when he found out there were family accommodations available, he insisted that we move as well. Let's all live together. It would be lonely to be alone.
How when it goes down?
Are you sure you'll be separated from your friends and the kids you like?
I don't have any kids I like. I can make friends easily. Although being with Dad is what I want.
After such exchanges, here we are. Virtually, it was a daily struggle as we adjusted to life in a new place, but gradually we started to make acquaintances. But among them, the woman I got along with the most was someone my age. Her name was Daisy, and she was the wife of my husband's senior colleague who also lived in the same company housing as us. Since our children went to the same school and were in the same class, we hit it off right away.
Katie, do you ever consider getting a part-time job?
I do have the desire to work, but I haven't quite made up my mind yet.
Is it because of the kids? Don't worry, my child stays home alone just fine when I work.
You're right. Maybe I'll talk to my husband and son about it.
Why don't you work at the same place as me?
Daisy's workplace is a nearby supermarket. I wonder if even someone like me, who has a careless personality, can handle it. When I expressed such concerns, Daisy responded, "If you say that, what about me? You're more responsible than I am, and I'm sure you'll be fine." Tis with Daisy's encouragement, I immediately decided to consult with my husband.
Why not give it a try? Over if you work, you might be able to enjoy a few more luxuries than before, right?
My husband readily approved of me taking the job. Well, I don't think we can afford that much luxury, though. Alas.
I can stay home by myself. Yay, unlimited game time.
My son was carefree about it. Oh, come on! Behave yourself. Well then, I'll talk to Daisy about it tomorrow. My husband, before the transfer, had been reluctant to let me work. But at that time, I didn't realize how enjoyable it would be to live in company housing. The next day, when I told Daisy that my husband and son agreed, she seemed very happy. She even introduced me to the workplace, and I was hired without any issues. I am so happy we get to work together. Actually, when I refer someone for a job, I get a small bonus. Really? I had no idea. It's just a small amount. How about we use that money to go out for a nice lunch sometime? What? Are you serious? I'm serious. It's a promise. However, that promise was never fulfilled because of one thing. My first day of work started 2 days later. The supermarket was so understaffed that my first day of work started 2 days later. Daisy's next day off happened to be on my first day of work. It's a shame that you won't be there on my first day. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Everyone there is nice, even though it's busy. I see. All right, I'll do my best. And so, on my first day of work, I was initially nervous. Just as Daisy had said, everyone was kind and quick to help me whenever I had questions. After 3 months of working part-time, I finally became capable of handling most tasks. In early August, Daisy came to me with a concern.
I have some sudden family matters to attend to the day after tomorrow, which clashes with the camping trip. Kenny was really looking forward to it, so could you take him with you?
Kenny is Daisy's son. The camping trip Daisy mentioned is an annual event organized by the elementary school. It seems that participation is only allowed with a guardian present. Since Daisy has always been kind to me, I couldn't find a reason to refuse. Sure, it's only fair to help each other out in times like this. To be honest, I was a bit anxious about camping with people I hardly knew. However, I saw it as an opportunity to repay Daisy for her kindness. Well, if anything comes up, my husband can help.
Isn't your husband working that day? My husband mentioned it. He said he's an important business meeting that day.
Is that so? Since I hadn't heard anything, I immediately caught my husband when he returned home and brought up the topic. Oh, did I forget to mention it? I didn't hear anything. But if it's a business meeting, you can come in the evening, right? Vicky was looking forward to it. And for a moment, my husband had a plan to go to the office, but he didn't. For a moment, my husband had a puzzled look on his face, but in the next instant,
I'm sorry, but I have to entertain clients directly after. I apologize to Iggy.
my husband said it with a face that didn't leave room for discussion. For the camping trip, there was a theme of bringing something fun to cook. Even though I had never done camping or outdoor cooking before, I was determined to make bacon and give it my best shot. I had been preparing a homemade smoker using a cardboard box based on information I found online, and I had everything ready for a week in advance. On the morning of the camping day, my husband prepared for work as usual and headed out. My son and I were busy from the morning onwards. You said last night that you were ready.
I'm sorry. I forgot.
My son hadn't prepared his own change of clothes and such. Finally, we finished our preparations, double-checked the locks, and left the house. Phew, that's a relief. We should have plenty of time now. Eggy, turn off the air conditioner. And then we went to Daisy's house to pick up Kenny. Katie, please take care of Kenny. Sure. Jinxie, take care of yourself at your parents' place. And so we headed to the campsite in my car. About 30 minutes after leaving home, I realized something. I had packed the cardboard for smoking, which was a good thing. But I had forgotten the most important part, the meat for the bacon I had prepared. Fortunately, despite the busy morning, we still had some spare time. Sorry, I forgot something. I'll go back home once.
Enough. But you were mad at me earlier for forgetting something.
I'm sorry. I'll be quick. And so we spent another 30 minutes returning to the company housing, rushing back to my room with the kids. As we entered the room, something felt a little off. Man, it's cool in here. The temperature had been quite high since the morning, and outside was scorching hot. Normally, if you turn off the air conditioner, the room quickly becomes hot, but our room was still cool. I realized that the air conditioner had been left on. Indy, I told you to turn off the air conditioner. I took the meat out of the refrigerator and realized I had left my cooler bag in the bedroom. I remembered placing it in a noticeable spot right after waking up last night to make sure I didn't forget it. Iggy, sorry, can you bring the cooler bag from the bedroom?
Why do you put it in such a weird place? You want a dog, don't you? Yes.
Alright, let's hurry then. We arrived at the campsite just in time for the meeting, but we managed to get there safely. At first, I was nervous, but the mothers of my son's classmates often initiated conversations with me. When I took out the smoker, everyone was amazed. Looking around, I noticed that the dishes others had brought were all simple and easy to prepare. Maybe I had been too enthusiastic. Nevertheless, actively engaged in conversations and helped with the preparations. A short time after arriving at the campsite, I received a call on my phone. I looked and saw that it was from an unknown number. Upon listening to what the police had to say, they informed me that my husband had been taken to the hospital. Seeing my panicked state, another mother kindly offered, "I'll keep an eye on your son here, so you should go quickly." Filled with anxiety about what had happened, I made my way to the hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital, Daisy's husband, dressed in a suit, was the Chink. Could it be that my husband collapsed while at work?
No, I received a call from the police saying that my wife was taken to the hospital. I just arrived here. Did Jason collapse too?
What? I thought he had a business meeting today with you.
Oh no, Jason had the day off today. Besides, wasn't Daisy camping with you? Me. It's what happened during the camping trip.
Our minds were filled with question marks due to the incomprehensible conversation. Thus then, a police officer approached us. "You're Daisy's husband and Jason's wife, correct?" Actually, the police officer began speaking with noticeable difficulty. According to the police, about an hour ago, they received a report from a resident in the apartment building across from the company housing. For tantalations, the report stated, "There is a naked person causing a disturbance on the balcony." Upon receiving the report, the police immediately headed to the company housing but couldn't confirm anything from the outside. They quickly went up to the neighboring apartment and looked into the company housing, where they found the two naked individuals completely exhausted. The property manager was called to unlock the door, and upon entering, they found that the window in the bedroom leading to the balcony was locked. They rescued the two individuals and transported them by ambulance. At that time, both of them were conscious. Izzy apparently provided her identification to the police. They were suffering from heat stroke and are currently receiving intravenous fluids.
So, that means...
They're currently asleep, so once they calm down, we plan to talk to them. And by the way, where were both of you today?
I was away from home for work.
I was at the school camp with my son and Daisy's son.
Saw the bay were locked on balcony. Do you have any idea who might be responsible?
No, before we went to the campsite, I made sure everything was properly locked. At that time, there was nothing on the balcony. My husband had left before us.
Understood. Let's wait for both of them to recover for now.
It was mentioned that both of them would be hospitalized for a while. But to settle tension hung in the air between Hank and me as we were left behind. I don't really want to think about it, but as I said that, it seemed like Hank had been thinking the same thing.
Yeah, probably.
Just with a solemn expression, he replied in that way, "Action on that dough." Jason went back home for the time being, and I returned to the campsite. When I returned to the campsite, the adults, I'm not sure who told them, were completely engrossed in talking about the police and ambulance that had arrived at the company housing. I'm sorry, let's go back home because Dad is hospitalized. I informed Kenny about the situation, and I returned home with the kids. We said our goodbyes to the mothers of the classmates around us and then left the place. I'm not sure if they knew the details or not, but I felt like we were being watched with curious eyes. For ticks till arriving home as I considered living in this room for now. I felt a sense of discomfort. A few days later, my husband and Daisy recovered safely, and they finished their questioning with the police and returned home. I was waiting for my husband's return at the company housing. He came home with an awkward expression on his face. "Jason, what on earth is going on?" I began the questioning quietly. My husband, with a pale face, started to speak.
Katie. I'm sorry. Izzy insisted, and...
What are you talking about?
Actually, Daisy and I were in a relationship during high school.
Surprisingly, it seems that my husband and Daisy were actually classmates in the same high school. But they were in a relationship back then.
At first it was just a casual feeling. But then Daisy said she wanted to be my wife, even if it was just for one day.
Touching and feels, according to my husband's account, their relationship started immediately after their reunion. Daisy also recommended me to work part-time to keep track of my shifts. It turns out they would meet when I was working. During the camping trip, they had planned to lie and spend the night together. When they saw us leaving, they seized the opportunity and returned to our home while we were still out. They hastily hid on the balcony, and that's how it happened. But still, why on the balcony? I never expected Iggy to come in, so I acted on impulse. He even closed the window lock when he left. Come to think of it, when I brought up the cooler bag, he said, you're one to talk, aren't you?" That wasn't about forgetting the cooler bag. He was referring to the fact that the window wasn't closed. So I was trying to figure out a way to get back into the room. There was nothing on the balcony, and the windows couldn't be broken. Our neighbors on both sides were away camping, and jumping from the third floor was definitely out of the question. It seems that they were struggling, fearing someone might notice them. However, on weekdays during the daytime, there were hardly any people around in the middle of the summer. They passed the time without being noticed. But when the police came to rescue them, they were in a near-death state. It turns out, thanks to my son securely locking the doors, they unexpectedly got their punishment. I couldn't help but laugh, half in disbelief as I said it. This is what happens when you lie and have an affair behind my back. I'm sorry. I'll end it now. Please forgive me. We can move out of the company housing too. Should we just stay here? Is that okay? We don't have to move. You're the only one living here, you know. Hey, what do you mean by that? While you were in the hospital, we moved out. Right now, I'm staying at my parents' house. I heard today is your discharge day, and I came here alone. Why did you do that on your own? Who's the one being selfish here? Saying that, I presented the divorce papers I had prepared to my husband. Divorce? Kitty, please spare me from that. Oh, I've already made up my mind. Be prepared, because I'll be demanding alimony and child support. Hey, Teddy, ignoring my husband's voice calling me. I left our company housing. Afterward, at the assistance of a lawyer, and filed for damages against my husband and his affair partner. Daisy, I also requested child support from my husband until our son graduates from college. Interestingly, my husband was also being demanded for damages by Hank, and Daisy was in the same situation. It seems that my husband, who got involved with a co-worker's wife, couldn't stay at the company and ended up resigning. He managed to find another job somehow, but his salary has decreased compared to before, and it seems like he's struggling in his daily life. My relationship with Daisy has already ended. Apparently, while she was hospitalized, they discussed the importance of cherishing our respective families from now on. I haven't seen Daisy since then. However, we are still splitting the payment for the damages, and I can confirm the monthly transfers. I moved to my parents' house with my son, and we are living freely. I had concerns about transferring my son twice within a short period, but luckily he was happy to live with my parents. After that, I found a job and I'm determined to start my life anew. I've made a pledge to enjoy life to the fullest from now on.